Okay, so I put out my pea-sized amount of gouache out on my palette. I chose my 2 watercolor brushes. This is Winsor and Cotman water brushes. They're rounds. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up this one, dip my brush into the water. You don't want to dip it all the way. That's not needed. Go over to one of my palettes, put some of the water there, take some of this. It needs to be more, has to be the consistency of half and half. Okay, that's a very good consistency. Let me just take a tiny bit of water. Half and half, the light cream. You want it to be half and half. You don't want it to be too transparent like watercolor, and you don't want it to be too thick like you didn't put any water in it at all. Okay, so that's what it's like. Okay, and then the next step, one moment please. Okay, so I'm gonna do this off to the side, but one moment, needs a little bit more, a little thicker. So consistency like half and half. And when we apply it, okay, so that's the half and half. I'm using more control at the end of my brush rather than using it like a writing utensil. So that is the half and half. Now, Sheila, this is really transparent. So he manipulated it to where it appears more like watercolor. So I'm going to add more water to this. Adding more water. Now I'm gonna see how it's more like watercolor now. And the bead. I can even dilute this even more. You just go back in and you just add more water. You take from your mixture and you put it in another palette. And you just keep adding more water. I can dilute that even further. Just want to travel with the bead, that water. Well, now it's like watercolor, so watercolor bead. If you want to not have it like what gouache is supposed to be, the consistency of half and half, and you want to treat it more like watercolor. And here's even more water. Losing the saturation of color, and it's headed towards more of like a wash. Not quite there, there's still some saturation. So you can make it even lighter than that. See how light that is? And now you're making it more like watercolor, but if you want to make it more like what gouache is supposed to be, then you want to keep it at the consistency of half and half, which both of those are. And see how this is different from that. See, look, the pool of it's more like if you were to pour out cream. Yep. There you go.